This presentation is going to focus on God blocking, and God stands for God is an acronym standing for gap on down blocking. So first I'm going to go over the whole play in its entirety. I'm going to let you see the play first, and then I'm going to explain the details. So you can see here every single offensive lineman has an assignment. Okay, this is not just by luck or random action. Every single player, if they follow their rules, will end up blocking the play like this. So remember, play 16 and play 17, play 4, play 5, play 14, and play 15 all follow the God blocking rule. So we know play 16, which is 16 with God blocking versus a 4-4. So we have 4 down linemen, we have 2 linebackers. There would be a third over here and a fourth over here, but for the sake of this PowerPoint, we just included the 2 middle linebackers. So we have the play designed to go outside of the outside butt cheek of this Y. So it's supposed to hit right here. That's where we want the football to go. So everything back from this point over to the puller, these guys all count as God blockers. So they are going to follow the rule of gap on down. Left guard is going to pull up around into the hole. Left tackle is going to slide step inside and cover the B gap. So here we'll see the play in its entirety, and then I'll go through and explain each assignment. I'll go back one more time so you can see the play. Now, let's go into the intricacies of God blocking. So first we start with the G, which means gap. So gap is defined as when a defensive lineman is in the inside gap, your inside shoulder to the next man over shoulder. So let's take the center here. Again, we know the play is 16, which is going outside the shoulder of the Y. So everyone until the first puller is following God blocking. So the center is going to look in his gap. And we see here that the tackle is lined up on the inside shoulder of the guy over next to him. Okay, if the tackle lined up here on this shoulder, he would still have him. If he lined up in the gap right in the middle, he would still have him. If he lined up over here, he would still have him. Now, if the tackle was head up or outside shoulder, he would not have him. Okay, so same thing applies for the right tackle here. He is a gap blocker, so he follows the rule. He looks in his gap. We have a tackle over the right guard's outside shoulder. And then we have the Y with a defensive end on the inside of his shoulder, which is still in his gap. Now, if we look at the right guard, if he looks in his gap, he has no one in his gap. There's no one on the inside shoulder of the center. There's no one on the inside shoulder of himself, and there's no one directly in the gap. So he is not a gap blocker. So here we will see the example played out. All these guys would block down into their gap. So now we have on, okay, the O, which stands for on. On is defined as when a defender is head up or his helmet is on your outside shoulder. So again, the play is going to the right outside shoulder of the tight end. All of these players here are God blockers. So if we look at the center, he's going to look at his gap. He has no one on his inside shoulder of the left guard and no one on his inside shoulder and no one in his gap. But he does have someone on him. Okay, it's not head up, but I said it's on his outside shoulder. So he now has the tackle. The right guard is going, we're not going to worry about the right guard right now. We're going to focus on this tackle. Okay, the tackle is going to look in his gap. Does he have someone on his inside shoulder? No. Does he have someone in the gap? No. Does he have someone on the right guard's shoulder? No. So no one is in his gap, so he goes to the on position or on assignment. So he's going to block the guy head up with him. So we can see this example played out. Next, we have the D, which stands for down. So down is defined as the next defender down the line of scrimmage. So these guys here are going to follow the God rule. Again, the play is going outside shoulder of the Y, and it's going to apply to this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy because this is our puller. So he has God, he has God, he has God, he has God blocking. So we're going to focus on the right guard and the Y to work on the down blocking. So the right guard has no one in his gap. There's no one on his inside shoulder. There's no one inside the gap, and there's no one on the next man over shoulder. Okay, so let's go to the next position, on. There's no one on top of him, and there's no one outside shoulder. So he's going to go to the next step, which is down. So he looks to the first man down the line of scrimmage, and that will be the tackle right here. So this right guard is going to go down on the tackle. Over here, we have the Y. He's going to follow his rules. Is there anyone in his gap? Inside shoulder, outside shoulder, or actually in the gap? No, there is not. Okay, is there anyone on him? Yes, there is. We can see this end is outside shoulder, but since the play is going here, this is the guy we want to kick out. We're going to leave him if he is outside of our shoulder. So he's going to go down here on this defensive tackle, as this guy is the first man down the line of scrimmage for him to block. So we'll see the example here. So here is the entire play. And we're going to go from, over the whole play to make sure we understand it. The ball, again, is going to the outside butt cheek of the Y. So all of these blockers inside to the first puller are going to follow the God rule. Okay? This left guard is pulling up and around. This left tackle is setting up inside and making sure nobody comes in the B gap. So first, the center is going to follow his God blocking. Does he have someone in his gap? Yes, he does. He has no one on his inside shoulder. He has no one in the gap, but he has a man on the outside shoulder of the next man over. So the center has a man in his gap. He's not even going to worry about on or down. He's going to block the guy in the gap. If we go to our right guard, he's going to follow his rules. Is there anyone in his gap? No one on his inside shoulder, no one on the gap, no one on the other man's outside shoulder. So he's going to move on to on. Is there someone on him? There's no one directly over him, but he does have someone outside his right shoulder. So his assignment is to block this defensive tackle. Now we go to the right tackle. He's going to follow his rules. Is there someone in his gap? We have no one on his inside shoulder, no one lined up with his helmet inside the gap, but we do have the defensive tackle on the inside shoulder of the right guard. So he is going to block this man in the gap. He's going to ignore on, and he's going to ignore down. Over here, we have the Y. He's going to follow his rule. Does he have someone on his inside shoulder in the gap? Yes, he does. So he's going to block this man. So we'll see the play in its entirety again. Now we're going to go to play 16 with God blocking versus a different defensive front. This is a 3-4. We have 3 down linemen, and we have 4 linebackers on the edge. So let's follow the rules. The play is going to the right, outside shoulder of the Y. So everyone inside, up until the pulling guard, is going to follow God blocking. The left guard is going to pull up and around into the hole. The left tackle is going to step inside to the B gap and seal it off and make sure there's no penetration. So let's go to the center. Is there someone in his gap? Inside shoulder? No. Inside the helmet inside the gap? No. Inside shoulder of the next man over? No. Does he have someone on him? Yes, he has someone directly on him. So his assignment is to block this tackle. He also needs to watch out for this gap as he takes this tackle, because this will backer can shoot right through, and he is responsible for him. Next, we have the right guard. He's going to follow his rules. Does he have anyone in his gap? He has no one inside shoulder. He has no one with his helmet inside the gap, and he has no one with his helmet on the outside shoulder of the gap. So he's going to follow his rule, which is next to go to the on. He has no one on him. He has no one outside shoulder on him. So he's going to go to his next rule, which is down. He's going to block the first man down the line of scrimmage, which is going to be the tackle. Over here, we have the right tackle. He's going to follow his rules. Is there anyone in his gap? No one on inside shoulder, no one helmet in the gap, no one outside shoulder. He's going to go to his O, which is on. Is there someone on top of him? Absolutely. So he picks up the tackle. Then over here, we have the Y. He's going to check his gap. Is there anyone inside shoulder, helmet inside the gap, or outside shoulder? No, there is not. So he's going to go to on. There is someone on him, but he ignores him because we know we're kicking him out with a fullback. So he's going to go to his next rule, which is down. Next man down the line of scrimmage. And they're going to drive these two guys into the backers here. So we'll see the play in its entirety. We'll watch it again. And one more time.